outside?
It's actually it's actually pretty mild in terms of the heat. Usually this is when the 5 or 6 weeks when Buffalo is unbearably warm, and it's like 70. It's like beautiful. Love it.
Oh, yeah. No, this has been like the I don't know. This shore weekend is going to be hellish. We're going to the shore right in my daughter's birthday, which was back in May. She wanted to have a birthday party where she had a sleepover at the shore with 11, 13-year-old girls, 12 and 13-year-old girls. So this is the weekend that happens, and
fun.
they're mostly going down in the minivan. I'm taking the Hummer down with my son and the dogs, and yeah, we have a really small. I mean, our shore place is nothing more than like a place to hang your hat. Like it's really tiny, but it's great. It's right. It's walking distance. It's right near the beach. But it's 2 hotel rooms, essentially. That was an old hotel, and they blew through the walls, so it's the size of 2 hotel rooms. So 11, 12, and 13-year-old girls sleeping in there. And, they'll be quiet and all that stuff. They'll be relaxing and calm. My wife took off yesterday just to mentally prepare herself for this. That's how stressful it's going to be.
So are we talking about LeBron going back to Cleveland?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, Act, did that mental preparation include a trip to the liquor store?
Oh yes. Grappa, baby. Grappa.
So just so you know, in Columbus, I guess they're done celebrating. Dubinsky signed a long-term contract because LeBron happened, and that's overshadowing it now.
Yeah, that's going to kill everything, right? Because that's a Cavalier town, I imagine.
I just thank God hockey is not like that, guys. Like, honestly.
Not yet.
I hope it never gets like that. I mean, how stupid is that where they had 5 police cars outside his house in Cleveland yesterday, and he was in Vegas, and there were rumors going around that he was going to say something, come out of his house in Cleveland, but he's in Vegas.
Everybody knew that he was in Vegas and that he was going directly to the World Cup final in Brazil with Kobe. He was never going to be in Cleveland.
There was a basketball writer who's got a lot of followers on Twitter, by the way, who, and it's not a anonymous guy or whatever. He said that there's 5 police cars out, and he took pictures of the cop cars outside LeBron's house. No, I wasn't referring to you. I was referring to another guy. I mean, you're not anonymous. Everyone can see you.
Anonymous guy.
I mean the hockey insider guy who now says on his thing that he's a former NHL player. Used to say former NHL scout, whatever. Anyway,
yes, the anonymous guy was named Manute Bol. Thank you.
Yeah, my point is here, guys, that there was a Ohio Cleveland NBA basketball writer saying that LeBron was at his house in Akron, 5 cops outside his house, and he's going to come outside and say that he was going to go to Cleveland. But there was another basketball writer saying it's not true. I just saw him. He's here in Vegas. So all day yesterday, everyone's like, well, is he going to Cleveland or is he not? And then all the reports came out that he's going to Cleveland, and nothing happened last night. All of a sudden today.
Okay, let's try to do this. Let's try to not mention LeBron in the entire webcast.
Well, we're doing it now, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, I'm just that's my rant for the day. Like, I just think it's stupid, and guys being able to opt out of their contracts is retarded.
Yes.
Like, seriously.
Yes.
It happens in baseball.
Yeah.
A-Fraud did it, and CC Sabathia did it.
That's my beef with LeBron.
That's a good one. That's a good rant. It's another Josh rant. Josh rant. Thank you.
Yeah.
We will be dating other women, for those of you in the chat room wondering if we're going to have a woman back on our show soon. So we're going to be, we could have Julie back too. Julie's just very busy these days. So we're trying to find a regular female guest and a guest host and stuff like that. So in our process of settling down and deciding on a female guest host, we're going to be dating and having some women join the podcast. We'll be dating other women. So there's that.
Wait, what just happened there? I was answering.
Don't worry about it, Josh. Nothing you don't know about. Okay, so here we go. Oh, by the way, first, I've got something behind me that's cool today. It's new, and my son shares my love of vintage toys and vintage cartoons. Like he's all over the Laugh Olympics. Remember the Laugh Olympics? Looney Tunes. Come on now. That was like Yogi Bear's teams versus somebody in the chat room will remember this. It was like back. See, I was a Super Friends guy, like the Hall of Justice Super Friends Saturday morning, guy. I don't know. You guys remember that, right?
Yes.
Hall of Justice Super Friends.
By the way, I have a suggestion for the first ban of the HockeybuzzCast chat realm. I need somebody banned.
Okay.
Really?
Oh, I see him. Yeah, Evan, man, you're cool. He's a good guy, but we're giving you a warning now. Cool off, bud. Cool off.
He's got a thing about me. Something's going on.
It's a little bit. We don't love the chat room. Is really not about a place to come and rip us, because it is just we pay for it, so it's comes out of our money.
If you want to rip on me in the comments of my blog. There's you go.
There's always plenty of time and space to rip on Mike.
Yeah, please.
We know that.
It's happened most of my life, so what the hell?
I mean, we're allowed to. But just keep the comments about what we're talking about, not about the people. Just keep that comments because that's it's not. I did just ban somebody. It was hilarious.
He's apologizing, kind of.
Yeah, he's. I know it's all in fun, and that's why I haven't banned you yet, Evan, because you've been skittering that fine little line between those things. So don't do it though. Don't do it because it's honestly warnings are done.
Why don't we start?
He likes you, Mike. He likes you a lot.
With friends like that, who needs enemies?
But I gotta show you this, my vintage toy story, real quick to finish up.
Yes.
This. Remember this?
Is that Evil Knievel?
Yes, with the wind-up thing,
Yes.
Yes.
I had one of those.
True story, Evil Knievel. I booked him on the Gretzky show. His last interview he did, 5 days later he died.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow, well there you go.
Jim Taddy and Rick Natras did the interview, and it was Natras asked him, "Hey, I hear you're a good golfer. What's the last you shot? When's the last time you played?" He goes, "Honestly, guys, I haven't played in a while. I'm very sick. Probably gonna die. I'm not playing golf anymore." Silence.
Wow, that's
Complete silence, and then 5 days later, he died. Hey, before we start this podcast, I need to pick your brain about something. Since there's no hockey going on right now, I need a good TV show to watch. Game of Thrones, Mad Men, or House of Cards. Which one do I do?
Well, have you not watched any of them yet?
I've never seen any of them.
Start with House of Cards.
House of Cards, yeah.
It's only 2 seasons right now.
Right. Game of Thrones is intense, man. It's okay, but House of Cards is just awesome.
Yeah? Okay.
I mean, of the 3 shows I've watched, 2 of them. I've watched Game of Thrones. I'm a big Game of Thrones fan, and I'm about almost done with season 1 of House of Cards. I love it.
Can't wait. I got you and Kevin into House of Cards, so we got to get you.
Okay. Yes. Somebody told me about, just gave me a hint about something that happens at the beginning of season 2, but they won't tell me what. So now I have to get through season 1 to see what they're talking about. Yeah. So, but I would start with House of Cards and then go to Game of Thrones, and don't get scared off by Game of Thrones in the first 3 or 4 episodes. Give it a little time because it really gets good.
Yeah, and by the way, for those in the chat room, I've already seen Dexter and True Detective, both very good shows.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and honestly, I think the best show of them, and yes, I agree, Kate Mara is amazingly hot. No, but the best show that I have ever seen in this of all these shows on HBO or Showtime or AMC or any of them is Deadwood. Deadwood was my absolute favorite. It was phenomenal, and it ended after 3 seasons. And
Did you watch True Detective?
Yeah, I like True Detective, but Deadwood was just.
You know the girl from the Jackson movies. What's it called? I forgot her name. She was the love interest of Woody Harrelson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
No, not his wife. Not his wife. His mistress.
No, Kelly.
First mistress.
Kelly.
Oh yeah. Okay. I know who you're talking about.
Wowzers is all I'm gonna say. Wowzers. Wowzers.
Yep.
Anyway.
And let's get to hockey.
All right.
Yes.
Must we? Okay. We must. I watched The Other Woman, by the way, last night. The movie that Matt Barry casted.
Yeah.
With
Leslie Mann.
I saw it too. Pretty funny movie.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah.
Good.
So we're gonna do a movie. Can we do a movie cast as well this summer?
We could, like sometimes podcasts do this thing. Like some of the podcasts I follow have this thing called like a catch-all podcast that they do just once in a while for fun for just the people who sort of follow the podcast and where we can talk about anything but hockey, kind of. So we can do that for sure.
Interesting.
Just break it up in sections. We do hockey every time, but maybe do like a 20-minute segment on movies or a 20-minute segment on shows or whatever.
Try to find a connection.
Yeah.
Watched a lot of bad movies yesterday while I was waiting around for things. It was a really interesting day. But Colby Smothers as well. Do you have her contact information, Josh?
Who's that? Sorry.
Colby Smothers, from another famous Canadian. How I Met Your Mother, Robin.
Oh.
That's another. I think. She was in. Wasn't she just? Isn't she on now as well? The Shield. Not the Shield. Agents
she was in the Avengers. She was in Avengers.
Yeah, and she was also on Agents of Shield as well.
Oh yeah, she was. She's
a Vancouver girl.
Yeah, I don't have her number, but
if you do, I'll take it. She looked good in spandex.
She wears a lot of hockey shirts. That's a good thing for me.
There you go.
Nice.
My Little Pony.
Nice. Do you guys watch Chicago Fire?
We did promise hockey. Sorry, Eiserman is the man. We will get to hockey now.
Do you guys watch Chicago Fire?
No.
No.
Because the one of the cops is beautiful. I forgot her name, but she's been caught wearing Columbus Blue Jackets jerseys and T-shirts on the show.
Do we have any women in the chat room? I'm just curious. Just any. I mean, we're 250.
I don't think so. Let's get some women. Guys, invite your friends that are girls.
It's like. Oh my gosh, I'm just curious, just out of curiosity. I don't know. It's funny. I'm just realizing that we don't have any women. I don't think in the chat room. I met Colby Smolders. Colby Smolders. Colby Smolders.
Thank you for Bunk2Z44 in the chat, who said just because you get a girl's number doesn't mean she's going to go out on a date with you.
Nice.
It's a start.
It's a start.
It's more than you'll ever get. Oh, just kidding. Let's go.
I don't think we have a single woman in there because no one has responded. All right. That's just sad. We need more women. We need hotter men is what we need. We need hotter co-hosts. We need hotter hosts and everything.
Thanks for that.
Let's do this. It's the 11th of July.
Mm-hmm.
It's Friday. Here we go. Hey, Hockey World. It is Friday, July 11th, 2014.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Josh Rimmer.
I'm Eklund. And you're watching the HockeybuzzCast on HockeyBuzz.com.
You guys always laugh whenever I say my name.
You just always have a different way doing it. Okay. Victor, don't worry. If your girlfriend catches you in the Hockey Buzz chat room, we'll make sure she stays around with you. Anyway, here we are, Hockey Buzzcast. I'm sorry about yesterday. Just a calamity of perfect storm issues. But we're back today. It's the first show we missed in forever. We're gonna stay. We'll keep going Monday through Friday for a little while, as long as you guys are into it. We're gonna spin the wheel today at the end of the show and talk about who we're gonna talk about on Monday. What do you got there, Josh?
I just felt like wearing a Blue Jackets hat.
Well, we have some news, Blue Jackets related.
Yes, we do.
Josh. Hit it.
Well, Brandon Dubinsky signing a long-term contract with the Columbus Blue Jackets. I wasn't prepared for this, so hold on. I'm going to pull up the number here. I think it was.
Why you would have been prepared for this, Josh?
Yeah.
The Hockey Podcast.
It was
6-year deal.
Yep. 6 years. Yeah.
I didn't see the money. Was it 5.5?
$5.85 million.
$5.85 million per year. But obviously, a good signing by the Blue Jackets. And the thing that I like about it the most is the agent of Brandon Dubinsky, Kurt Overhart, is the same agent for Ryan Johansson. So maybe by working on the deal with getting Brandon Dubinsky signed, maybe they've kind of had some good conversations in regards to Ryan Johansson, because it got a little ugly last week, a week and a half ago, with Ryan's comments that he was felt that he took a slap in the face by the Blue Jackets. But by making a deal with Dubinsky and working with Kurt Overhart, I'm hoping, and I'm sure all the Jackets are hoping, that maybe this has opened the door for a Ryan Johansson deal to maybe come pretty soon. Because honestly, guys, we haven't heard a lot here the last week and a half about it since Johansson made his comments. Something could be close. We don't know. Hopefully, that'd be nice. But Johansson obviously is a big part of this team.
I get the impression with Johansson is that they basically know that they can qualify him, right? I mean they're not at this dangerous point with him. He can always hold out and they can do all this stuff. But I think that since there's no real pressure of losing him, I get the impression that they hold the cards. This is not too different than sort of the way they were treating Bobrovsky last year. Eventually they got it done. Mike?
It's slightly different in the sense that, he doesn't have a lot of leverage because he's coming off the entry-level deal. What I think Johansson is pressing for is he wants to get the long-term deal now and skip the bridge deal because he thinks that he's advanced far enough, and maybe Jarmo Kekalainen and John Davidson are saying, okay, proof is in the pudding. We want you to put up another couple years, and then we won't hesitate to give you that big money. But right now you've had one really good year, and you're just starting to come into your own. The Leafs faced the similar situation with Kadri last year. He had that good year. He wanted the long-term deal. The Leafs said no, and he essentially signed before training camp a 2-year bridge deal. And that happened with Montreal with PK Subban, and I'm sure that Montreal is probably kicking themselves right now that they didn't succumb to Subban's desire to have a 5-year deal, because they'd have a ridiculously advantageous deal right now, because I think he was asking for around $5 million on a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
And now he's, even if he goes to arbitration, he's going to get probably 6 or 7.
Yeah, so. Easily. He's, and they got to avoid arbitration with PK Subban. They really do, because another short deal, and I don't think PK sticks around. I think that PK has him over Bauer. Really, he does. But I think Johansson will get signed. I think they'll get it done. I don't know, Josh. Would you go full hog for this guy? He's a great player. He's shown real potential, but we're not looking at like Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews type contracts here with Johansson.
Yeah, obviously not. Kane and Toews are a total different level. I still am scratching my head about $10.5 million a year, but whatever, I guess that's the market value now for those guys. And again, if Nikitin can make $4.5 million, why the hell not?
You see, this is the thing though with Kane and Toews. We talked about it a little bit the other day when you weren't here, Mike. But yeah, the thing was this: it's like, and both Kane is arguably the best playoff player in the NHL as a forward.
Mm-hmm.
He's absolutely clutch beyond belief.
Absolutely.
Toews is probably the best. One of the top 3 captains in the NHL, right? So when you look at that,
and both of those guys, Zach, weren't even healthy. There was rumors that they weren't 100% healthy and they were playing, at the level they were playing.
I know. So to me, that $10 million is earned. Like if you're going to get $10 million in the NHL, you have to be maybe the best at something you do, and each of them is among the best at something they do.
Mm-hmm.
Johansson is a really good up and coming player.
Oh, absolutely.
A star on a team that needs stars, and I
have him in the same category as Brendan Saad and even Tyler Toffoli. I have Johansson in that same category.
Really, I put him ahead of those guys. I like Saad and Toffoli, but I think he's ahead of them. I think he's more in the I'm going to say like just below like the Claude Giroux level.
Wow.
That's where I put. I think that's how good he is, and that's how good he's going to be. And I think that's what they're thinking.
How good he
$8 million player, and I think that might be, what they're looking for. Whether or not they get that or not depends. Mike?
Like I said, I think he may be that good, but the thing is, I think they really want, more of a sample size before they're going to open up the coffers and pay him $6.5–7 million on a long-term deal. he had one really good year. He's a very good young player. I think he's going to be, a top player in this league. Who knows? He doesn't really have a ceiling. Everything is open to him. But right now, based on having one breakthrough year, you cannot pay somebody big money. You have to be a little more prudent because you open yourself up to the possibility that, okay, this was a flash in the pan, and if I know that the Buffalo Sabres, they had Tyler Myers. He won Rookie of the Year. He looked like he was all world at age 20. He had an okay second year. Then his third year was bad. He had some injuries. He's never been the same as the player he was when he was a rookie.
Right.
And they gave him the big money. Now, he's making less than Matt Niskanen. But 3 years ago, it was big money. And he's not, and if he hit the open market, the potential, because he's a big defenseman and he's offensively capable and all those things, he would probably still make big money, but he's not the guy that they thought he was when they signed that contract. I think, Jarmo probably just wants another year of proof that he is a top echelon player before he gives him the boatload.
You have to wonder, you have to go back, Josh, and think about it. If the Columbus Blue Jackets find a way to upset the Penguins in that series,
mm-hmm.
And they move on, then they would have faced the Rangers, and the Rangers always had Columbus's number, but still, I would have given the Columbus Blue Jackets a pretty good shot against the Rangers in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. I mean, the Rangers didn't really wake up, until I'd say they beat the Penguins, but I didn't think they were that great. I just think the Penguins were that bad, right?
Yeah, they were. I agree with that 100%. So I think that if he goes further, maybe his money is higher. I mean, I think when I use those Giroux references, I kind of use it like he is the Claude Giroux of the Blue Jackets as well. Like he's the guy. He is their marketable guy. He's their forward. He's their star. He's their all-star. Like when you think about the players who are going to be on this team in the next 5 years, he's going to be an all-star. Johansson's going to be an all-star 2 or 3 times in there, if we still have all-star games.
I hope not, but go ahead.
Moving forward, I know. So, I think that I don't think a bridge deal is going to happen. I think they are going to get it done because JD gets the fact that this is such a marketable part of this whole thing, and JD's about marketing it. They don't want this to become like a Ryan O'Reilly situation. They don't want it to become contentious. And I hate, and here's a big pet peeve of mine I'm going to throw out there to both you guys. When GMs say, and I like Kirkline a lot, he's one of my favorite GMs and one of the nicest guys in hockey. But when they say something like, "Go ahead, offer sheet, we'll sign him to we'll match whatever you put out there," because if you'll do that, then what does an agent say when it's like I know offer sheets are complicated. It's people talk about how you want to make offer sheets like the Leafs should offer sheet Subban. I've seen this argument out there, right? So that if they offer sheet Subban, they screw the Canadiens because the Canadiens have to match it. They can give him $10 million a year, and if they get him, they get Subban. If they don't get him, then they screw the Canadiens. Well, it's weird how that argument is because if they get him, and if they were screwing the Canadiens, aren't they indeed screwing themselves if they actually get him? But besides that point. Offer sheets are expensive to do.
Yeah.
They actually there's a lot of legal work that goes into an offer sheet. It's like a couple $100,000 to offer sheet a player, and that doesn't seem like a lot to a team. But if you're just doing it to screw up another team, sometimes teams aren't going to do that. So when that's what Kirkline was basically saying. He's saying, okay, yeah, go ahead and make an offer sheet. We'll match whatever it is. Okay, so if I'm now the Flyers or another team in the Metro Division, I go to Johansson and I say, okay, here's an $80 million 7-year deal, or whatever, and then see what happens. Because then he said he would match it, and if he doesn't match it, now he's really screwed. What are your thoughts on this whole thing, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, as we all know, there's apparently a gentleman's agreement, the rumor is, with GMs that they're not supposed to be doing, signing guys to offer sheets.
Just through other teams.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's still the gentleman's agreement about them actually signing offer sheets no longer exists. They all accept the fact that offer sheets are part of the game.
Yeah. All right. Maybe
but
I'm wrong.
But if you're gonna but to just screw other teams like the one we're talking about with Toronto and stuff like that, that's another story.
But here's the thing, Ak. I mean, if offer sheets were part of the game, why haven't we seen one yet? Like, I mean, there's good players that are restricted that are out there.
No, what we haven't seen is an offer sheet that hasn't been matched. I mean, we saw Shea Weber, we saw Ryan Kessler.
Yeah.
We've seen Sergei Fedorov back in the day. We saw the threat of them cause potential trades, like the threat of Kessel signing an offer sheet when he was traded. All these situations, the threat is there, but that's basically all it is the threat.
Yeah,
and Ryan O'Reilly was the most recent one, and I think we're going to get into the Ryan O'Reilly thing, but the offer sheet from Calgary has really put Colorado sort of behind the eight ball, that they had to go to club selected arbitration here, and now, according to Adrian Dater's column yesterday, if the machinations between the Avs and O'Reilly weren't bad enough before, the talks have sort of broken off now, and it is going to go to arbitration. And essentially, this is what O'Reilly wants now, because he puts the pressure and the onus back on the Avs. If they go to arbitration, he's going to get almost as much money as he wants, and he's going to get a 1 or 2 year deal. And if he gets a 2-year deal, he's a UFA in 2 years, and he can basically tell the Avs to go stuff it.
He just won the lady. He just won the Lady Byng, right? So I mean, this is a guy with some power, some power behind him. I mean, I think that at the end of the day, the Calgary offer, the Calgary contract that he signed, and then was matched, I think was probably about value. I think that was pretty much the value for Ryan O'Reilly.
But the problem is that for some reason, and I understand why Colorado is doing this in a way, but for some reason, the line of demarcation is Matt Duchene's $6 million salary. They do not want to broach that level. So that means nobody, Landeskog, maybe McKinnon, because McKinnon was a number 1 pick overall when he gets to the end of his entry level deal. But Ryan O'Reilly, who was picked in the 2nd round in the same draft that Duchene was selected 3rd overall, he can't make $6 million no matter what he does, or they don't think he should make $6 million. So you know what? If he wants to make $6 million or more, he's going to have to go someplace else. And the only way that I think he is going to go someplace else is by forcing the issue right now in this situation. If he takes a 1-year deal and they have to go through this charade again next year, or if he takes the 2-year deal and tells them, well, this will be the last 2 years I'm going to play for your organization, and forces a trade.
Yeah.
Well, let me throw this at you guys. Back to with the offer sheet. If you're the Buffalo Sabres, aren't you kind of kicking yourselves because you were offered Vanek was offered the $50 million offer sheet from the Edmonton Oilers in 2007. They could have gotten 1st-round picks, and those 1st-round picks would have been
like
Sam
first
Gagner,
overall picks.
Jordan Eberle, Taylor Hall. If you're the Buffalo Sabres,
that is a good debate. I mean, someone brought up in the chat room too. The Sakic actually did sign an offer sheet at one point. Remember, to the Rangers.
Yeah, and but who's to say that Edmonton would have been as bad? I mean, Edmonton wouldn't have been.
Thomas Vanek would have made that big of a change though in the stand?
At 23 years old, maybe.
He could have helped them a little bit, but it still would have been a good 1st-round draft pick. I mean, depending on what else they had done, it's one of those, butterfly falls on the windshield type moments, that it could have changed everything, everywhere. We might not have a podcast right now if Vanek accepted that offer sheet. You never know. There may not have been a lockout. Anything could have happened.
Yeah.
But it is one of those really a tricky situation. But my thinking more is I'm a kind of this tough talk that GMs throw out there. I will match any offer sheet put forward, and meanwhile they're negotiating with the agent who's saying you won't give me anything I want. It's just there's a big disconnect there. There's a big. I mean, if they'll match any offer sheet, then maybe the team should just maybe the players themselves should pay the legal fees to another team to put an offer sheet together. I mean, I'll take Johansson should put out $200,000 to get an offer sheet to make another $30 million or whatever it is. I mean, it's kind of a weird situation. It's a little bit strange, and I think right now though, if you were to sign, because it says the next 2 or 3 drafts are really good, apparently. We have some real strong talent coming in the NHL. Next year's obviously maybe one of the best, they said, since even 79. But this, The next 2 or 3 drafts are good. So if a big offer sheet's thrown out there right now, that might not be the worst thing in the world. Depends on the kind of team, I guess. But the problem in the past has been, okay, if the Predators don't match the Shea Weber offer from the Flyers, they get the Flyers picks, right? But Flyers picks are generally, in the 20s. So it's not going to be, they're not going to be that good.
Yeah, you have to factor in what the Flyers would be with Weber.
With Shea Weber, which is a whole other thing. And also you have to factor in the fact that this is the guy who's on the billboards, who's on everything, and he's everywhere. Ryan O'Reilly, I think a Ryan O'Reilly offer sheet might work. I mean, I do think that because Colorado, I think, has had, depending on how high it is, I think right now, I wouldn't be surprised. And if you've signed 2 offer sheets, like Ryan O'Reilly had signed one to Calgary and one to another team. I mean, at what point does your team start to be like, wait a second?
The only way he's going to be able to sign an offer sheet is if he takes the 1 year, the arbitration this year and takes the 1 year offer and then goes for an offer sheet before July 5th next year. So the offer sheet is off the table right now. Right now with O'Reilly, it's strictly leverage. It's strictly telling Joe Sakic, okay, here you go. I'm going to sign this 2-year deal, and you can stick it. Because I mean, basically, I'll play here. I'll play to my utmost. But after that, my 2 years, I am gone. Don't bother talking to me. I am going someplace else. And if it's like that, then they will start trying to trade him because they know it's an asset they'll lose.
Can you imagine if Buffalo offer sheeted Ryan O'Reilly, then Colorado could maybe, Buffalo's probably. Hold on. Okay. Can you imagine if Colorado ends up with McDavid, McKinnon, and Landeskog?
Ryan O'Reilly's out.
That's the thing.
Not offer sheetable.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying. I didn't mean it's going to happen.
But
obviously,
then,
it
could have happened.
If that could have happened, that would have been pretty exciting for Colorado.
Exactly. Colorado accepts. Colorado says, "Go ahead," in that situation.
Colorado says, "See you later. We'll take Connor McDavid."
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the current landscape of the NHL, a bottom 5 team or a team that you think could be a bottom 5 team will never sign an offer sheet for anybody because the potential cost, especially if it's a guy like O'Reilly who's going to want $6.5–7 million and the cost is 4 first-round picks or something of that nature. There's no way they're going to do that because they could potentially give up 4 or 5 top 5 top 5 picks. You can't do that. I mean, it fits more. It fits more with the teams like Philadelphia, who are like in the middle or near the top of the league, giving up 4 first-round picks who are probably going to be in their 20s. They, if they have the cap room, then that deal makes sense. It's really against the teams that are not good to be able to sign offer sheets.
Right. Of course. That's exactly it. And that's why they try to make trades. The trades usually try to happen before offer sheets. The Flyers tried to trade for Shea Weber before the offer sheet happened because the Flyers knew that Nashville would look at their draft picks as not being that valuable. So
now I could see the Islanders maybe trying to make a gamble. I mean, Garth Snow likes to gamble. It seems these last couple of years.
I played blackjack with Garth Snow. I know he likes to gamble.
There you go. Wouldn't Garth Snow maybe be a guy that could try to offer sheet someone? Because he seems to want to add these guys so they don't. Actually, what am I talking about? The Islanders gave their first round pick already to Buffalo. I made a mistake there.
He could sign an offer sheet next year.
No, this is really. This is really true. Oh, I've got a little trivia question for you guys today in the chat room, and for you thinking, I don't know if you may have seen this already, but there is a famous line that should be thought about on this particular day. A famous NHL line that should be thought about on this particular day. That's all I'll say. Just a little trivia question. If anybody can figure it out in the chat room, I'll give you a special bonus of saying hey or whatever. A famous line that should be thought about today. Famous historical hockey line that should be thought about today.
French Connection?
All right. Why?
Was this the day that Richard Martin died?
Nope. Keep trying to guess. You gotta tell me the name of the line and why they would be famous today. Why would they should be thought about today?
July 11th.
Yes.
Well, there's no hockey on July 11th.
No hockey on July 11th. So moving on, you guys can think about that in the chat room. We'll continue on. It's a little teaser for later in the show.
Need hints. Need hints.
Yes. Someone in the chat room says French Connection, but I need to know why the French Connection, or because I mean, if you can give me a reason why they would be thought about today, I would have to say, well, that could possibly be true too. But this is a very specific line that has to be thought about very specific.
There you go. Dan's got it.
Is it French Fry Day or something?
No, Dan's got it.
Okay.
The date is
7/11/14.
Bingo. Nice.
I thought it was French Fry Day. I thought it was maybe honorary French Fry Day or something. I don't know.
No, I thought that was kind of cool. 7/11.
Although I haven't had a French fry in a long time, guys. I'm down 52 pounds now.
Keep it to yourself. Stop bragging.
Sorry.
Pretty good stuff.
Sorry.
Yeah, man. Okay. All right. So moving on. Just lost my train of thought completely. This happens in July. Oh, man. Hold on. I'm sorry.
No, we can talk about.
I gotta get my thought back, man. Sorry.
While you're collecting, the contract that I thought was pretty interesting that was announced in the last couple days was the 1 year, $1 million deal for Danny Heatley with Anaheim. I think that you're going to see, and you've seen it today. Brendan Morrow signed with Tampa for a little over $1 million. Right now, you're in the season where these veteran players are looking to basically lock on to a job for next season, and they're willing to take the 1 year deal. This is Mason Raymond territory act. This is like we talked about. They're looking to lock in a job. They're looking to lock in a 1 year deal. Maybe have a good year with a good team, and then maybe hit it big a little more next year, like Raymond did with Calgary. Morrow's 35 years old. I think he's coming to the end of it in his career. Heatley, if he could have a good year, if he was playing with Getzlaf and Perry, then he might be able to start, get a long-term deal someplace else, or maybe 2 or 3 years for decent money and sort of have a rebirth to his career. But right now, he's looked upon as an, overpaid, old, slow, nothing.
I like it though because what I liked about it. Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, no disrespect to Danny Heatley, but if I played with Getzlaf and Perry, I could score 20 goals. If Danny Heatley can't do anything playing with Getzlaf and Perry, he's done in the league.
Yeah, no, he's definitely done in the league if he can't. But his speed, can he keep up with those guys? Like you said, Mike. Just speed-wise, you got to. And also, the other thing about it is, the one thing I do like about it is I like this LA, this Los Angeles area arms race that's going on now with the Kings. The Kings and the Ducks. Because the Kings have won 2 cups, the Ducks have won 1 in the last 10 years, and but the Kings have won 2 recently, and the Ducks go out and get Kessler. Now they've signed Heatley. I like this. I like what's happening down there.
Well, more than likely, because at the end of the year, Devontae Smith-Pelly was playing with Getzlaf and Perry. He's a young guy, has some speed, has some size, has some ability. Yeah. They'll probably end up keeping him with Getzlaf and Perry. But, it's possible. Like, on the power play, Heatley, with those 2 guys, players that he played with on Team Canada 4 years ago in the Olympics, it does make a little sense. And, they breathe life back into Dustin Penner, and needless to say, Dustin Penner is going to be beating Steven Stamkos in any skating races. So he's challenged by speed, and so is Heatley. So I think he can fulfill a role and help out the Ducks next year, just like I think Brad Richards will help out the Hawks.
Oh, I do too.
Hey guys, I just think that with what Anaheim's done here, even though Danny Heatley's not a huge signing to me, unless he could, come back to form, and Ryan Kessler, this has got to put a little pressure on San Jose. We heard San Jose was going to make all these changes, and nothing's really happened to address what happened with them losing 4 straight games to the LA Kings after being up 3-0.
Oh, come on, they re-signed Scott Hannon.
Woohoo! Yeah. That's going to get you some big goals. Oh, yeah.
Good old Scott Hammond. We're going to do some questions from the chat in a second, but I remember what I wanted to talk about. Vladimir Sudoku, as I like to call him. Not the numbers game, but Vladimir Svoboda, has signed in the KHL for, $4.8 $8 million, correct, is the number? And but apparently, 4.3 million. He was only $300,000 apart from signing with the Blues. And so if they were Blues were offering 2.7, he wanted 3. So instead, he's going to Russia, where 4.3 is, according to Andy Strickland, equivalent to $8 million contract because of the taxes and implications. And that's true if you get paid. If you don't, it's not true. I know some players who played in the KHL during the lockouts and still haven't gotten paid. So I'll just put that out there right now. And if you don't get paid in the KHL, who do you argue to? What court do you take that up with? Where do you go?
Court.
Yeah. Yeah. And then so it's $8 million in small unmarked bills given to you in paper bags, but he's going to get that. So he's going to sign. He's going to go there. I guess he signed a 2-year deal there. So it's $4.3 million altogether. American, no taxes, and all the McDonald's Happy Meals you can eat for pregame meals. There's a lot of things about Russia that I wouldn't go. The reasons I wouldn't go there, based on what I've seen from players and heard from players. I mean, I know, like I said, I still know guys who owed millions of dollars from the first lockout that played there.
And apparently the Blues are taking a little heat because they immediately, once Sobotka let them know that he was going to sign in the KHL, their reflexive response was to lock up Ott for 2 more years at, I think it was $2.6 million a year. They upped their offer. I mean, I know that he was being offered around $2 million by a couple teams. Toronto was apparently mildly interested and then never got back to him. But they upped the offer to by $600,000 basically because they knew that they were between a rock and a hard place, that there weren't that many, third, fourth line, centers who could provide a combative, nature that Ott can, and Sobotka is more of a checking guy. So I think they paid Ott a little too much, but they really didn't have a lot of choice out there.
No, they didn't. Josh?
Well, St. Louis, you know what? I don't think they need Sobotka. I love what they have done, and I
agree.
I know I said this last year that I thought St. Louis would go to the finals. I think there's a good shot of them going this year. I think it's between, obviously, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are saying this, between Chicago, LA, and St. Louis coming out of the West. Because, I mean, they added Paul Stastny, which I think was a good move. It's going to be interesting to see how Paul does in St. Louis. A hometown kid, grew up in St. Louis. Obviously, his father, Peter, played for the St. Louis Blues. And, signing Ott, I mean, you can never be wrong by bringing a leader in the locker room like Steve Ott. I like this team. I mean, and let's not forget, Backes and Oshie were hurt a good chunk of the season last year, right?
Yeah, they really were.
I like the St. Louis Blues this year, and what they've done in the offseason here, guys. And Brian Elliott's a great goalie. I mean, they had Ryan Miller. They were using Ryan Miller before, but I like Elliott a lot as
for their system, Josh, I agree. Yeah, Elliott's actually a better goalie maybe for the kind of system they play. They play such a defensive checking style, and Miller was at his best when he was playing on a Sabres team that played pure offense.
But guys, that's not who they're going with. They're not going with Elliott. Elliott is going to be basically a 1A. They're going with Jake Allen, and that's the scary part of what's going on. I will tell you this, though.
Hitchcock, I want to see that happen before I actually believe it. Like, I know Hitch is not likely to go with a young goalie. I mean, Hitch does. I know Hitch wants a bigger goalie. Hitch does like big goalies.
And he is a big goalie.
He's a big goalie, and that's a big thing for Hitch. But at the same time, and also this Ott signing is a Hitchcock signing through and through. Like, this is...
Oh, yeah. Well, you had him in Dallas, right?
You had him in Dallas. And Hitch's biggest thing, and like I've said many times before, why he failed in Philly, the only reason he's not still here is because Keith Primo got hurt. And Hitchcock is the kind of coach that, because he never coached in the end, because he never played in the league or whatever, and has a certain kind of stigmatism that comes with that and different things that he's done, players don't always respect him as much, and he tends to kind of sense that and likes to get players that he knows are on his side to work things. So Primo was that guy in Philly, clear and through. Backes has been that guy in St. Louis. Hugely important to Hitchcock's success is having that kind of guy. So now he's got two, because Backes, and I think the Backes injuries, were the reason that Ott came over, because I think Hitch remembers the Primo injuries happening in Philly, and that was the end of his control over that team. So now he's got kind of a backup in Ott, it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense for the Blues to do it this way.
Well, I think St. Louis might have the best. I mean, spread out top six right now. I mean, they have two strong lines there, guys.
Oh, they do. They really do.
And their top three defensemen with Pietrangelo, with Bowman, Shattenkirk. That is pretty good.
Yeah, and now they got your boy Carl Gunnarsson as well.
Yeah, I think Carl Gunnarsson's a good depth defenseman. Yeah. I mean, he's not a 1 or 2. He's a 5'6", and he'll be a good 5'6" there.
Yeah.
All right, let's do some questions from the chat room. Evan, since we gave you a hard time in the beginning of the show, Hextall said at Flyers Town meeting that they are looking at one free agent depth guy. Any idea who that player is? And I wrote in the chat room and kind of half-heartedly, but I honestly do believe the Flyers are one of the teams talking to Ville Leino. And remember the Ville Leino and Claude Giroux had a hell of a chemistry here. I mean, that was a great combination. And if you can get somebody to come in, to play with Claude Giroux. Remember, Hartnell now is gone. So I can see Leino, Giroux, Voracek line being kind of interesting in Philly, And so I think Leino could be the one guy they're looking at. I think Leino will be signed in the next 48 hours too.
Ville Leino, the Finnish Eric Cole.
Yeah, that's kind of fair. I mean, he's very specific to what he does, and he's also works on certain kinds of teams, and it'll be a very small deal, no matter what it is, like a $1 million deal.
But he's only played well in Philadelphia, and if Philadelphia does what they did before and put him on the wing, put him with talent, it'll work.
It'll work. It will.
I will continue to say that one of the things that led to Darcy Regeer's downfall in Buffalo is the fact that he didn't know what to spend money on, and the free agent year that he was given, the candy store, he went out and spent, $40 million on Christian Ehrhoff, and I think it was $24 million on Ville Leino, and now 3 years later they're both gone. And so is Darcy.
I know. It's been that tough. Question now for you guys. Rach1 asks if Reimer gets traded, who backs up Bernier? I'm going to throw that out to Josh and Mike. Josh, what do you think?
They're obviously going to have to grab one of the free agent goaltenders that are out there, Marty Brodeur, or they got to bring a veteran presence into Toronto, a guy that, that'll make it a little bit easier on Bernier, but at the same time, it'll give him competition. I think the best choice would be Marty Brodeur. Obviously, both French, and also I know Bernier looked up to Marty Brodeur growing up, and Marty can play well and can give Bernier that competition where Bernier is going to play well. I think Brodeur's number one. After that, there's a huge drop-off. I mean, there's not Tim Thomas is out there. Do you really want to bring Tim Thomas in? I don't. Brizgalov, no thank you. Habib Bulin, no, too old. Vokun, maybe, but he's not really the veteran presence that I think Brodeur could bring to the Leafs.
Yeah, although, like we talked about before, Brodeur is a specific break personality. So I don't know. Mike, your thoughts on this? Is it pretty much the same?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, I think if they do trade Reimer, first of all, they're not going to trade Reimer unless they get something of value back for him. They're not going to trade him for a fifth-round pick. They're not going to dump him. They have him under control for, I believe, if they want him, for another 2 years. I mean, you could see, and we know that it was the lines of communication for a deal between Toronto and Montreal were there for the Josh Georges deal that didn't happen. Peter Budaj is basically a man without a job next year if they go with Tokarski as the backup to Carey Price. Maybe if they get rid of Reimer, they get Peter Budaj for a song. I think that would make a little bit of sense. I mean, I think that the likelihood of them getting Brodeur if they trade Reimer is high because of the connections with Clarkson, because of his son playing in Guelph, because of his previous relationship with Brendan Shanahan, but it's far from a guarantee. And I don't know, honestly, after watching Marty Brodeur last year. I don't know how good he is, how much he has left in the tank. 20, 25 games, with him at this point in his career, I'm not confident that he is up to it any longer.
It depends on the system he's in front of. Like, I think certain teams, I think he would work on certain teams. I think Minnesota should definitely go for Marty Brodeur. I think that I haven't heard that they would, but if I was Minnesota, I would definitely he would be the guy. I would say for sure. Okay, so another question here we had. Let me see. I lost it a little bit. Where did it go? All right, so the question was basically, and I apologize for losing your name. Oh, here we go. The Big Easy. Hey, Eck, the Habs still trying to look for deals to fill our top 6 winger position that's empty, or is the sense that they're going to wait and see any players within the organization are ready to step into it? I think the second part is probably the bigger sense there, but I have heard them connected with Evander Kane, and I think that's one of the players. I think that's the one player Montreal, the one big splash Montreal could make, is to bring in Evander Kane. I think it'd be a really interesting situation to bring Evander Kane into Montreal. I think we all kind of root for that quietly. Those of us in the media would like to see Evander Kane in Montreal. But I've also heard Lee Stepniak's name mentioned with the Canadiens too, and I think that might be more realistic. Stepniak's starting to get a little bit of buzz going, I would say. The Bruins, people came out yesterday saying the Bruins were interested in him. I did get some information about Derek Roy, Josh, that the Nashville Predators are not going to pursue that. Now whether or not, and I think that changed in the last 24 hours, and I don't know what that means in terms of whether Derek's maybe picked a spot or whether the Preds have something else brewing, but something changed.
Now, another name that I find interesting that's out there that I think might be a good fit in Montreal is a guy like Ray Whitney.
I would totally agree with that, especially having lost Gianta. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I think that,
he's still fast. He's 41, 42 years old, but he still has wheels, and he still has good hands, and he's a leader. And that's something.
Think about who they lost. Think about Gianta, Briere, Vanek. They lost a lot of veteran presence in those 3 players. And the playoff run was what it was, but a lot of that, there's a lot of veteran presence among those 3 players.
Well, I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for the return of Mike Ribeiro to Montreal because we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. I have a
Ribeiro
great
to the KHL.
That I'll put in my book. Someday in my book, I'll put my Ribeiro story that I know the worst damning crazy Ribeiro story, but that will tell you why the Canadiens will never bring him back. Something I've witnessed myself. So, yeah. But not now.
I think the intriguing ones that are still out there in free agency are not like a 41-year-old Daniel Alfredsson who apparently is either going to play for Detroit or retire, or Ray Whitney at 42. Even though I think he still has the skills, it's the guys who are in their early or mid-20s, mid to late 20s who like Devin Setaguchi, who's been in San Jose, he's been in Winnipeg now. He's 27 years old. He sort of reached the crossroads of his career. Again, I keep using the example of the Mason Raymond example, but somebody who would maybe sign a 1-year deal someplace and look to have a big year. Now, he's going to try to sign someplace where he's going to get top 6 ice time, which I don't know how many teams are going to give Devin Setaguchi top 6 ice time. But another one, and a guy that a few years ago was somebody we thought would be on the U.S. Olympic team for a number of years, and concussion problems have really killed his career, is David Booth. David Booth is someone who, if he goes to the right situation, if he goes to Pittsburgh and he plays with Sidney Crosby, there's
like David Booth is like, we've talked about this before, I think, but yeah, I'm with you. David Booth was, when I went to the Olympic camp before Vancouver, the most skilled American player on the ice. When you watched him just out there, purely as skilled in terms of the most. I'm not gonna say. Actually, let me take that back. The purest sniper that they had. Like, he was absolutely not the most skilled, but David Booth's ability to pick corners when I watched him at the Olympic camp with the other Americans was just astounding. He and Patrick Kane had this competition going where they were trying to hit the posts, from like the blue line, and it was incredible. David Booth has that much talent. Yeah. And I agree. If you put him in the right, we got to put him on the right team. You got to not count on him, but he's sort of like, he reminds me of. It's like funny. Somebody just said this the other day, and I totally agree with this. Mike Bullard. And a weird way. There's an old name from the past, I know, but like, remember Mike Bullard? He kind of bounced around.
Toronto, yeah.
He bounced around towards the end of his career, but when he was on the ice and when he was healthy, he could change a game. Like he had that. He was with Calgary. He was obviously Flamester will remember him. He was amazing with Calgary, but he had his moments, too, in Philly, and where he was just really exciting. And it really kind of David Booster reminds me of that kind of player. And I think his concussion issues are really bad. And like we said about Detroit, there's some reason that Alfredson's not signed back in Detroit yet. And I was asking people about this yesterday, trying to figure this out, because it's not like Detroit to let a guy hang out like that. Like they'll just usually say, that we're not signing you or we are signing you. Detroit, and the reason is that they are in the Tyler Myler sweepstakes. That's that Detroit's trying to make that happen. If that happens, they're going to have to give up some forwards, and if that happens, there's going to be room for Alfredson on Detroit. So. Josh, go ahead.
Speaking of Detroit guys, my buddy and fellow Hockey Buzz blogger Eric Mellon's been telling me lately that in Washington the rumors are that Mike Green might be headed to Detroit, and he actually just wrote a blog about that is the rumor going around Washington. You think Mike Green might be headed to Detroit? I mean, as Eric points out in his blog, that new Caps GM Brian McClellan says that they're not going to trade him, but that's usually the kiss of death when a lot of times when GMs come out and say they're not going to trade a guy. Obviously, if they say they're going to trade a guy, then the value and the offers that they get, it's not going to be as great as they would be. So, you think Mike Green has a shot at going to Detroit?
It's a really tough call on that one. I could see Mike Green not working out in the Barry Trotz system. I could see the Capitals thinking that that they have to move him. At the same time, I continually have heard that Mike Green's not getting moved. So there's definitely a rub there, between the two. Would he fit into the,
Would he fit in under Mike Babcock? I don't know.
I mean, it depends. Like Babcock's better. One thing Babcock's really good at is he's really good at isolating a player for what they are good at and letting them do that. And if you let Mike Green do what he can do, then he's a really good player.
Which is not play defense.
But you don't get Mike Green to play defense. You get Mike Green to play on the power play. You get Mike Green to lead. And this is something that the Red Wings desperately need. A transition game that's Mike Green's specialty. The Red Wings need a transition game in the worst possible way. So
he's a rover. He's not a defenseman. He's a rover.
And he's got a hard time staying healthy too, guys, as we all know.
But it's a short-term risk for anybody who makes a deal for Green because he's only got 1 year left in a contract. He's making $6 million. I mean, if they have the cap room, and if Detroit wants to roll the dice, I mean, it's not a long-term commitment. It's not like you're trading for 7 years of Dion Phaneuf or, Tyler Myers with 3 or 4 years left in his contract.
Right. I mean, Myers is the most intriguing name out there right now. So if you can get Myers, you're going to get Myers. Last question. PJ DeHaves 91. Do you think the Devils and Preds would be good trade partners? Devils have too many forwards. Yeah, they do, but they don't have the kind of forward that the Predators
are looking for. Good forwards.
What was that?
They're not good forwards.
No, that's not true. They have good forwards. They don't have the kind of.
I'm kidding. Sorry.
What the Predators and more specifically Laviolette, remember, this is all about speed and giddy up hockey, so it's got to be, somebody really fast. Booth in Nashville would be good. I mean, if he was healthy, David Booth would be a perfect fit for what they want to do. But
I somehow don't think Dinah Zubris is going to be going to Nashville or something like that. We need somebody who actually can skate now.
No. Zubris so old that when I had my first bank account as a child, I remember I was standing in line in a bank locally and standing behind Dinah Zubris with my mom. So
he's not that old.
It's been a while, man. It's been a while. Yeah. So anyway, Tatar is a good possibility for move for Tyler Myers. But we'll see. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. But this was a great chat, guys, and have a great weekend. A great week again at the HockeybuzzCast. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube feed if you could. We're going to be launching in a lot of different things and a lot of unique things in the future. We hope you guys are liking the chat room. As it is right now. Right now we have a 250-person limit in the chat room because that's about all we could afford to put in there. It's another $200 a month or whatever to make that 500 people. So we're going to keep it there for now. But in the future we might move that up depending on how much you guys like it. And we'll be back next week. We're going to spin the wheel. I'm going to spin the wheel. It's over there, so you're going to have to trust me on this wheel spin for a second. Hold on 1 second. Mike, tell them where they can find you on Twitter.
Oh, okay. Well, you can find Josh at Josh Rimmer Hockey. You can find Eklund at Eklund. Kevin Allen, who normally comes on the show a couple times a week, is at by Kevin Allen, and I am at Mike in Buffalo. Go ahead, Josh.
And I just want to point out to everyone, those who do follow me, it's me. It's not James Reimer. I feel bad when I get the request if you could send me an autograph, and I got kids sending me their address. Can you send me an autograph? And I have to break their heart that I'm not him. I mean, just look at the profile picture. James Reimer does not look like this, although I'm a lot thinner than I used to be, like I said before.
And follow me on Twitter, because my goal is to by the beginning of next season to get up to 10,000 followers on Twitter. I'm at around 7,400 now, so.
Nice.
You got your work cut out for you.
And Josh just passed his landmark.
I am. I'm at 20,200 now. Thank you, guys.
That's pretty awesome. Okay, so I just spun the wheel over there, and I have to fit it back over here. Sorry, just did some rearranging. But I spun the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Edmonton Oilers. So two really intriguing teams. Maybe we can get somebody. Maybe we can get somebody on like Brian Metzer or something like that, Mike, on Monday, to talk with us about the Penguins. We'll see where that goes.
I can try.
We'll see what happens. And then with Edmonton too, maybe we can get Matt on. So we'll make some inquiries about and getting some guys on to talk Edmonton and Pittsburgh, two of the epic Stanley Cup winning franchises of the last 30, 40 years. We'll see what we can do with them tomorrow. So remember, guys, without the buzz, it's just hockey. Have a great weekend. See you at the shore, perhaps.